Okay, so I was looking at a few toys online the other day, action figures to be specific, and I realized that I like to rank the different figures in terms of quality and accuracy of all the different lines. And I decided why not make this into a video because I thought it would be interesting and some other people might want to check it out as well and see what they think of this. It's my opinion, obviously, but I think it's a fairly well educated opinion. So obviously I'm going to start the list with generic action figures, and these are all 1/18 scale modern figures, so that we could compare apples to apples. Anyway, the generic ones, they're just very plain little ones that you can get probably at places even cheaper than the Dollar Tree, because as I'll show, that the Dollar Tree has its own brand. But yeah, they're just generic little toys. They usually have 5 points of articulation in the shoulders, legs, and neck. And yeah, I mean, they'll pass for kids up to maybe 5 years of age until they get tired of them and want something more detailed. Number two is Chapmay, aka True Heroes. These also have about 5 points of articulation in the same places, shoulders, in the thighs, and in the neck. And they are cartoonish, though they are slightly better than generic. They always have like the really big hands and the giant guns and all the weird proportions and stuff. And so I've never really taken these very seriously. They're very unrealistic and generally low in quality. One thing I really wish they do as an aside is in their vehicles, I wish they would add cockpit glass to their vehicles, but they never do. So these are number two. Number three, we've got Final Faction. These are kind of futuristic, so these aren't exactly modern soldier figures. But I think they're worth adding in here because I think Dollar Tree put a good effort into having their own action figure line, and they're very affordable. And so that's a good one to have in there. Anyone who's not familiar, I recommend taking a look just to see. They also have only 5 points of articulation, but their quality level I think is a little bit better than Chat May. For number four, I've got World Peacekeeper uh, action figures, aka M&C Toys, and they just kind of look cartoonish. Their proportions are a lot better than Chat May. They've got a lot more points of articulation. The vehicles are better, and the weapons are a lot better than certainly than Chat May or the other ones, Final Faction or generic. But they're still not up to snuff. I personally don't use them for any of my models or anything like that. If I ever get them, I pretty much sell them right away. And then the next one is Modern Lantern. A lot of people will remember that the vintage Lantern was very similar, kind of a knockoff of G.I. Joe back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s. But Modern Lantern has improved their quality quite a bit. I believe they have more articulation than Chat May, and the quality is a bit better. Some of them even look kind of realistic, and they're good enough for play sets and stuff. But they're not really super high quality or anything like that. Next, we have 21st Century. Of course, they made amazing vehicles, but when it came to action figures, they weren't quite as good. There were these two action figures that came with the Humvee that I got. One kind of looked like a CIA guy, or they both kind of looked like CIA guys. They weren't really soldiers. And they have the British soldier, who is actually pretty good looking. But they weren't super high quality. The joints were very strange. And the material was plastic, but it kind of looked like a resiny material. And they really never developed this. They had a whole bunch of pilots for the World War II vehicles, and they mostly just used these few modern ones that they had for the more modern vehicles. I really just wish they had gotten further into developing their modern line. They were supposed to do an A-10 Thunderbolt, which would have just been magnificent. But they didn't, unfortunately. They went out of business, as we know, as I put in that video that I made. So the next one is someone that is a line that not a lot of people are familiar with. It's made by Hia, and it's called Our War. The figures are kind of generic looking, but they're not bad. They have really good body armor that is removable. The weapons are good. I think they only made 5 or 6 characters. They didn't make a whole lot of them, but they were good figures. I still have a few little pieces of them from when I had some. I think they sell for quite a bit now, so if anybody can get their hands on them, enjoy. But yeah, they're a good toy line. The next after this, I have modern GI Joe, which of course is in distinction to vintage GI Joe, because you can tell the difference just by looking at modern and vintage GI Joe. Modern GI Joe is very good. I feel like they can improve even more on a few things, making their figures look a little more robust, a little more realistic. I'm always into realism, but they do the whole GI Joe versus Cobra thing, and a lot of people are into that, and I certainly was as a kid, but now I'm more into realism. Um, they're certainly not bad. They're good figures, but recently, obviously, they've been focusing on the classified line, and they've got the vintage line, and then they've got the vintage ones with just the 5 pieces of articulation. I can't remember. There's a company that makes those for them, but I can't remember what it is. And I personally am not into those figures, but some of the modern ones, I have quite a few in my collection. Then after that, we have BBI, or Elite Force. They have 2 lines basically. They have the high quality line that came with all the old vehicles, like the old Black Hawk and the old Little Bird. Those weren't super high quality. Some of them were. I really like the helicopter pilot. I use that for most of my helicopters, but not. I'm talking about the helicopter pilot that has the shades over his eyes, not the Little Bird pilot, which has these weird slanted elbow articulations, and um, and then they have the lower quality line, which came with the other vehicles that they released within the last 10 or 15 years, like the tank, the Abrams tank, and the helicopter that has no front window, and the Humvee that has no front window. None of them had windows, and they're a little lower quality, but I think they look really good still. Now, next I'm going to go with Unimax Team Bravo, which I think is amazing. And this actually is the toy that got me back into collecting 118 figures, from collecting as a child and then kind of growing out of it in high school and going and chasing girls instead. And then in 2011, my wife and I moved back to Sacramento, and I was at a Target there. And I was like, oh, these are really cool figures. I think I'll buy some. And they were, of course, the modern Team Bravo line. And so I just started collecting those and just got back into 118, and that's grown into customizing vehicles and customizing figures and stuff. So they're really what got me back into that. And they stand the test of time. I think they stopped making them about 13 years ago, around 2011, 2012, 12 or 13 years ago. But they're still one of the best quality and most realistic figures on the market. And so props to them. Next, I'm going with Marauder Gun Runners, because they're incredible. They have kind of a modular system where you can buy parts of them and kind of combine them. I always think that I'm going to be able to find a deal doing this, but it always ends up costing a lot. And then I end up paying like $25 for a figure, and I'm mad at myself. But they're very awesome. And like, the figures are fairly inexpensive. So for instance, if you just bought a body and a head, that would be, I think, like $15 plus shipping and tax. But that's reasonable. But then you always want to add on, body armor, helmets, weapons, accessories, and then the little pouches and things like that are all separate as well. So it adds up. But the quality of them is amazing. Then next, I have a couple of very expensive, kind of futuristic, I think Japanese lines, and that's Planet Green Valley and Acid Rain. They're kind of more futuristic, but I'll add them in here just because, for the sake of argument, they're very high quality. They look really great. I don't own any because they're too expensive. It's like $80 for like a little Acid Rain action figure, and I don't understand how they could justify charging that much, but they do. So I just don't buy them, but I do like to watch them, admire them from afar, and they are very good. So the most amazing to me 1/18 scale modern action figures are made by Joy Toy, and I think they're just incredible. They're also affordable. They have basically 2 lines like BBI does, where they have a less expensive line and then a higher quality, more expensive line. And sometimes you can find deals on the more expensive ones, or you can just buy the less expensive ones, or they'll go on sale on AliExpress. And Joy Toy is just amazing. Everything, the quality, the realism, the articulation, all of the accessories. I'm just a huge fan of Joy Toy. I think they really did a great job of coming out with an excellent 1/18 scale figure line, and they're continuing to make them. So that's awesome that they're keeping 1/18 scale alive. Um, and I'm always down to get some of those. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Also, please comment if you have any ideas or comments on what I was talking about. Thank you so much. Bye.